FaZe Clan is one of the biggest brands in esports and one of the most valuable brands at $1 billion market cap. But are they really worth that $1 billion price tag? As we all know, esports is not a very lucrative business venture. It's not very easy to make money in esports, and it's extremely costly to be a team in esports and actually support your own rosters in especially games like Counter-Strike and League of Legends, where salaries can be in the millions of dollars per player on your team. You know, FaZe Clan, since their SPAC merger, has been extremely volatile stock here. You can just see the ups and downs have been pretty violent both ways. And right now, at least for the past 3 months, this is kind of unfair. We'll go to the month, and that's not a very good chart, but down 32% for the month. But if you kind of zoomed out more, it came out up around $10, immediately tanked. But you see the volatility absolutely off the charts. And you can see right here, $1.04 billion market cap for FaZe Clan, a company that doesn't really have strong revenue, is in an industry that people are excited about, but is very difficult to make money in. We can see that with FaZe Clan's own earnings report. They came out here. Their cash that FaZe Clan has, this billion-dollar company, has $41,000 in cash. I think that's kind of funny. It's not really something insane because they do have that trust account with $172 million in. So I'm assuming that they're going to be able to use that money to pay salaries and kind of expand FaZe and try and do brand deals and pay for things. But ultimately, where does the extreme kind of revenue come from? Where does the consistent revenue come from for FaZe? I would imagine it's something like merch, because you can't rely on your esport team earnings. It's just not going to be consistent. But to FaZe's credit, they do have $173 million in total assets. Obviously, the almost all of it is in the trust account. I don't know exactly how that trust account works. If they have access to it and can get that money, I'm assuming they do, and they can use it to pay salaries, pay for content creators, obtain content creators, and probably obtain other players for their esports teams. But I would imagine that this is going to mostly go to probably getting more content creators on board under the FaZe name and trying to work out deals with them to get a portion of their sponsorship money and their ad revenue, because that's where you can get consistent revenue. But also getting someone who's of big stature, they don't need an org to join because they already have the audience. The org doesn't really give you anything except take some of your money. So it's just a very tough business to see this path to massive revenue. And then they have liability of $6.8 million, but obviously their assets to liabilities, absolutely crazy. Way more assets than liabilities. You love to see that for a company trying to grow. But for a billion-dollar company, is $173 million, and the vast majority of that coming from just going public, is that really worthy of giving you that billion-dollar title? The first unicorn out of esports is FaZe Clan at this point, and do they really deserve that because of $173 million in assets, $172 million of that coming from going public and not really their own business kind of ventures and cash flow, and how they're running the esports team? From a lot of people on the inside of esports who have done this, who have ran teams and worked with teams on management side, a lot of people say that, you know, FaZe is just kind of overblown, kind of hyped right now, and it's not going to actually be sustainable. Which, I don't know, maybe that could be right. Maybe they have an idea on what's going on, especially if you work in the industry and they know that FaZe is kind of not doing great as a long-term strategy here. But if we look at FaZe's teams, these are FaZe Clan rosters that they've had since they were founded in 2012. Since they were founded, just to kind of show how inconsistent your teams are, or how much the revenue from these teams is just not something you can rely on. You can see Call of Duty, they have $1.5 million, and Call of Duty FaZe Black and Red, these are super old days teams, and Warzone 338,000. But obviously CSGO, the biggest one, 5 million, and Fortnite 2 million. There's a lot of money in CSGO League of Legends. But on the flip side, it's very expensive to get in CSGO and League of Legends. Those contracts could be millions of dollars per year to pay players to actually try and win, and then there's no guarantee that you get any money. But going back to Call of Duty, because FaZe has one of the best Call of Duty teams in the league. Call of Duty League has been around for 3 years. We'll just say they won the vast majority of that money in the 3 years that the league has been open. $1.5 million in 3 years is not a lot of money, $500K a year, and their salaries for their players, because they do have some of the best players in the world, are probably nearing that $300,000 a year mark, which obviously means the winnings from Call of Duty does not pay the salaries that they're paying the players. That could be $1.2 million per year that they're paying their team. 4 players at $300K each. Maybe it's not how it exactly breaks down. Call it an even million per year that they're paying their team. That's $3 million over 3 years, and they have won $1.5 million. So it has cost them $1.5 million to field a roster in COD just to play it. So they are losing $1.5 million over this 3-year span, even though they are one of the most dominant teams in the league. It's just how expensive esports are. Esport kind of athletes are, where that money is big. Their salaries are inflated right now. There's contracts in Call of Duty. I don't think this is sustainable at all for this league. It does not make that much money, does not have that much viewership to warrant $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 per year contracts. I don't think it's sustainable long term. But currently, that's what it is, and it's insane to think about that. Over 3 years, being one of the most dominant teams in the league, you still only made back 50% of your cost just to have a team. Even if you add up everything that FaZe Clan has won in all teams that they have in esports, it's $13.7 million since 2012. Since they were founded in 2012, they've made $13.7 million. So in 10 years, they made $13.7 million. I am sure that it has cost them way more than that to field their rosters in everything, especially Call of Duty is pretty pricey right now. Warzone is probably not much. CSGO, extremely pricey. Fortnite, they could have got some good deals, so this could have probably been their best game at making money in. Then they also have Valorant, 121,000, which the Valorant team, they're definitely paying them more than 121,000. So they're in one of the most expensive esports in CSGO, but they're not in League of Legends. So maybe this $13.7 million could have been a net positive, but even if it was positive, it's going to be a very low amount. They're not going to make $10 million on this $13 million, or even probably $5 million. They'd probably be lucky to make 1 or 2 million. And just comparing FaZe Clan to all the other esport, or at least the top 10 esports here from Forbes that they have valuations for, obviously these aren't going to be 100% accurate because a lot of these aren't public companies, so they're going to be guessing on a lot of things. But this is a little bit older of an article written in May, updated in July, but a little older. Obviously, they have FaZe Clan at 400 million. They're at $1 billion now. The SPAC merger boosted their market cap insanely. They went from 400 million to $1 billion. That's crazy. But you look at these other teams. TSM was valued at more than them at this time. 100 Thieves, Liquid was all valued at more than FaZe was. And I think that out of these teams here, all of these guys are involved in CSGO or League of Legends, because if you're going to be a massive, big esports brand, those are the scenes you got to be in. And just so happens, they're the most expensive ones to be in. But just kind of going down this list, and FaZe Clan, does FaZe Clan really deserve to be worth more than, or around double TSM, more than double of 100 Thieves, more than double of Liquid? Do they really deserve to be on that high of a pedestal? What have they done to be up there and be this biggest unicorn out of esports? Or are they just kind of a little inflated right now? There's a lot of hype trading going on. There's a lot of maybe meme stock a little bit. FaZe has turned into kind of a meme stock a little bit, with that crowd loving to get into it. And maybe it's just new enough and people are excited about esports, but eventually the time comes where you need to make money. You need to have consistent revenue, and that's very difficult to do in esports. We saw even over 10 years of being pretty dominant in a lot of their teams that they have, they only made $13 million over 10 years. And the salary cost alone to get that is going to eat up the vast majority of that. The big thing for FaZe is going to be selling merch. That's going to be one of their consistent lines of revenue, and their partnerships with things like McDonald's and DoorDash. But I just don't know if they can really scale that so massively to be a $1 billion company or bring in that revenue and bring in $100 million a year or something. I just don't know if they could do it. As of right now, it's definitely a stock to watch. I like esports, I like the scene, and I like FaZe. So it'll be interesting to watch them over the next couple of years and their earnings report. Really get to look into a business of esports and see how it's run, see how they're doing, and see if they can really just be the unicorn out of esports and show everyone that they're deserving of a $1 billion market.